Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we will be talking about units that I feel like you can comfortably just outright re-roll. This will probably serve as a guide for people who are either new to the game or stuck in a place where they've gotten characters to 140 but they don't necessarily want to commit to like any specific unit. These are going to be units that I believe will survive the sands of time regardless of whatever new meta that comes into the game, unless they add something like immortality, or maybe they can cast, full life on themselves, like a precaution type skill or something. I don't know. We'll really have to see what happens, but I do feel comfortable in the list and the units that I'm going to mention in this video. I also wanted to talk a little bit about like my schedule and just overall why I have not been uploading anywhere near as many War Division videos, but I'll leave all that at the end, just I guess in general for the people who don't honestly care about that kind of stuff. But I do want to say that if you like this kind of content, definitely be sure to support it. It will definitely help with just outright getting more War Division videos from this channel. And with that, we will start with Helena of the Black Rose. Honestly, just one of the more powerful, if not the most powerful unit in the game. A lot of things going for her. I don't really want to go in like depth about like their skills and all this other stuff. I just want to glance over the things that I feel like give her that longevity. The re-raise seal is not very common, so I think that that's something that works in her favor. And there's going to be a similarity amongst all these characters, like a certain criteria that I think has to be met for these characters to be able to kind of like get this title of that longevity or a survivor of the sands of time. And outright, we're definitely looking at survivability, a really good kit, whether it's offensive, maybe supportive. All these characters are definitely going to have either courage or re-raise, and probably courage and re-raise removal. If they don't have one of the two, they're probably going to have just honestly a really good kit that could revolve around maybe possibly having a HP barrier, which I think is just kind of better than the 3-hit barrier. And with the addition of sequence abilities, I kind of feel like that's something else that is going to be a common just similarity that you're going to see amongst some of the characters on here. But honestly, there's not a lot to say about her. I think that she's just somebody you can comfortably re-roll, so many things that she can do. And even with a meta shifter, maybe somebody that can just kind of just, deal with her immensely easy. I personally don't think that's going to take away from just the unit in general. She's going to be good for PvE. She's going to be good for guild raid or any kind of like CM. I think she's immensely easy to build around when it comes to limited content and has a lot of job card support. And next up, we're looking at Vive, who has a lot of similarities with Helena. Even though I don't have him, one of the things I really do like is that he's not full out limited to just dealing pure magic damage. Having Blade Soul, I think, really works in his favor, and not having to cast his re-raise just being outright on the support. Being able to give re-raise seal to an ally, I think, is just extremely potent. I honestly feel like you can just give this to somebody who has really good range, maybe a tank that you want into the front. Even if they end up getting their re-raise removed, it can kind of just protect your back line, and I feel like that's him at his best, to be completely honest. Arrus is another character that I personally feel like is going to survive the sands of time, and at this point honestly has. There's going to be another character that I'm going to make mention to that I think has a lot of similarities to him and honestly kind of does it better than him. But one thing I really like about Arrus, outside of having courage, having a means of removing re-raise, is that he can manipulate CT with cross destruction. I think this is extremely just really good. Like, aside from just being an AoE attack, it's something that can honestly sometimes, if you're combining it with haste, get him another turn, and it's almost like not as good as Quicken, but it's pretty effective. Running him alongside somebody who can possibly use slow is honestly going to be to his benefit. And as long as he's not taking the brunt of the punishment, maybe he takes a hit and you can redirect the damage using a tank or maybe just like a skill like Taunting Blade or Taunting Spell, and outright just honestly just try to keep him alive. I think the more he's on the field, the more destructive he's going to be. Now, even though the other character didn't make the list, I do feel like Urel and Elia kind of fit the same bill as well. But as you can see, I'm kind of going across like the board as far as like elements, and there was another Earth character I wanted to mention. Nonetheless, these characters I think are extremely good just for the ability to put courage or re-raise removal on another ally. Unlike Vive, I kind of feel like you want these abilities put onto like your DPS or like your secondary DPS, just because it's possibly not going to work out with your tank. There's, the whole re-raise seal. I think courage is a little bit more susceptible to this until we see like, I guess, more courage seal or something in the game. And another reason why obviously I picked Elia is the CT manipulation. Stag impact is so powerful. I really do love that skill. I think it's probably the most potent thing in her kit. The range is extremely good, and the synergy that she has with Bradley's TMR I think is also just really good. And even though Elia is not like currently the head of the meta as much as she was, I personally feel like as long as she has the right team composition, she can deal with Vive and Helena like pretty easily. It just honestly sometimes depends on positioning, the map, things like that, but I still think that she's a viable threat and a comfortable reroll. Next up, we do have Bradley, the character that I was kind of mentioning when I was talking about Arrus. Really good CT manipulator. Obviously, he has like one of the more powerful TMRs in the game. His courage ability, being able to get himself AP and not necessarily relying on AP restoration because of, you know, certain TMRs or certain things that can definitely get that taken off, definitely keeps him in the meta and makes him a viable threat. He's an excellent chainer, also has re-raise removal. Just honestly really powerful unit still, even to this day. While Glassy, on the other hand, did get an extremely powerful core enhancement. I think adding courage to her limit break was just that one thing that she was really missing. She already has a barrier that can give AP restoration on critical hits, and like Bradley, she just has really good range. I think that's something else that's really appealing about her. I feel like she does it a little bit better depending on the map, and it's kind of that same situation with Elia. Yeah, she's not at the top of her game as much anymore, but she is definitely still a viable threat, and when put around the proper team, she can definitely mess people up, and I feel is pretty much worthy. Now for the new character added to the game that I feel a lot of people, at least whenever I was watching the War of the Visions official live stream, people were saying that Overon was going to be the A2 killer. I honestly do not agree with that. A2 I think is going to be powerful regardless. I think she has a lot in her kit, the re-raise, the ability to remove courage at a really good area of effect, as well as having the barrier seal, which is, you know, unique for the time. It just really feels like she fits the same bill as like the previous mentioned characters. You want to get the most out of her. The more damage she's dealing, the more HP she has. Everything is going to really just fluctuate into a stronger character that's already really powerful or has a really powerful kit that you can kind of tool with. Not to mention, she also has really good sustainability. She has multiple ways of healing herself, the sequence ability to heal herself and an ally, and just in my opinion, I do feel like that is going to survive. Another character that's kind of slid down the meta, but is honestly still really powerful when you think about characters like Perrine, Elia. Even though Soul does not have courage or re-raise, he can still remove courage, which is pretty good. He can remove it, I think, off of a regular ability in his main kit, as well as his limit break, which is pretty powerful. The ability to poison people also kind of works in his favor. Same situation with A2, the sequence ability and a heal is really powerful. And a commonality amongst these characters also is that I can see them all put on separate teams outside of just a mono team. I think there still needs to be a little bit more card support as far as job cards go. So some characters are going to have an easier time than others, but nonetheless, man, I do feel like all of these characters can really just truly benefit a lot of units in the game, if not add to what they can already do and just kind of crush. So it's more so in the hands of the people who have them, what you have access to, the cards you have access to. But I honestly feel extremely comfortable with mentioning all the units beforehand. And now we're going to get into tanks. Now starting out with Celis, I did put her here mainly because of the runic ability. It's a gimmick thing. Yes, it's going to work more so against magic units, but I think she's honestly a pretty good physical bruiser. And typically I feel like when it comes to your tanks, you want to max reroll them just to give them sustainability, whether they have a ability to heal themselves, give themselves regen, or anything like that. I've definitely seen situations where Celis is able to tank both the limit breaks of Vive and Helena, and by the time your teammates, you know, catch up to her or something, she's able to use that runic ability to just negate all that damage. And this is regardless if she's put to sleep or she's stunned, it doesn't matter. And it really helps that they don't have runic removal. I think that's something else, like only one unit I believe has that. An old school character that I honestly still kind of use to this day. She got an extremely powerful boost to her limit break, and I feel like she's definitely worthy of being max rerolled. The only thing that I feel at this point Lightning's kind of missing is magic resist. If she can get her hands on some like magic resist cards, I think that would really benefit her. And three more mentions that I did kind of want to go over is definitely going to be Celis, Raph, and Dialdo, who personally to me are the best tanks in the game. They just have a lot that I think separates them from other tanks. But once again, I didn't want to gab too much about them. I just kind of wanted to make mention of characters that I believe are worthy of the max reroll, so hopefully this will help somebody out. And if you feel like I missed anyone or somebody that you feel like is worthy of being max rerolled, I mean, by all means, but just keep in context that I was only going over one unit per element, and then I just wanted to make mention of some tanks. Honestly, don't like the thought of like rerolling characters like Velis or Yuna, Aerith, or Resnick, just because, I mean, I don't know. That's just me personally. If you were able to make it this far in the video, I would definitely recommend you subscribe. Support the channel any way you possibly can. It would be a huge help. And now on to the more serious bit I think I kind of wanted to talk about. So overall, I'm not gonna lie, man, I have not honestly been enjoying making content covering War of the Visions, and it is definitely like more so a me thing. There's nothing wrong with the game per se. I just think that there's a difference between like what it is that I want versus like maybe what the community wants, and we're just kind of on separate pages. And it's honestly gotten to a point where I'm just kind of tired of you know, mentioning it. I feel like I talk about it way too much in streams, and kind of made enough videos to kind of like get my point across, where I stand on certain things, what I would want added to the game. And this also has something to do with like the overall growth of the channel, because February is officially like my 2-year anniversary as far as like actually covering War Division's content. And I just have to say that I'm not really content with where the channel is. This is something that I think was kind of wearing on me nearing the end of last year. So I'd have to say the fact that that hasn't changed is kind of worrying. That's another reason why I personally say, like, in, you know, at least the majority of the videos, it's so important to show your support, whether it's a like, whether it's a comment, a good job, or anything like that. Honestly goes a long way. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to force that at anybody. I feel like if you truly enjoyed the content, I wouldn't have to ask. And I kind of have to take a step back and kind of look at myself. What is it that I could do better? And definitely not put the blame on anybody else. So with that said, it's a possibility that if things don't change, I would have to say soon, I might end up slowing down on making content on War Divisions. I also might slow down on making streams. And that is regardless if it's guild raid, any kind of content that I honestly like really love, it might be slowed down almost completely to a halt. It just really depends on what happens. I don't want to put a deadline. I don't want to put a time limit. The only thing I can do is kind of just go off of how I feel. So just be sure to expect some changes coming to the channel, whether they're positive or negative. I honestly don't know. But personally for me, I've been having a lot of fun playing Dark Cloud, Kingdom Hearts, going back playing like older PS2 games. There's some new games I want to bring to the channel, and that's kind of where I'm at when it really comes to my channel. I no longer want to sacrifice the fun that I have and the work that I have to put in just for the hope that I'm going to get that next sub or that next like, because up to this point, clearly it's not really working and I'm just kind of getting burnt out on it. So I'm going to do what I want to do. So hopefully those who truly do support the channel won't be too bummed out or anything. I've honestly have tried to reach out to certain people, whether it's Discord or people who are stream watchers, on content they would like to see brought to the channel, or, you know, changes that they would like to see made to the channel. And I just honestly have kind of not gotten the replies that I would prefer. So like I said, once again, not trying to blame anybody. I do think that the ball's in my court and I need to do what's best for me. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I hope to catch you in the next one. Take it easy.